just a few thoughts on the summer and how things are going, and then we'll go ahead and start with questions if everybody raises hands, please.
Yeah, well, it's good to see everybody. It means we're getting a step closer to what this is actually all about. This time of the year, you almost, you spend the last 5 months or so doing things that are helpful in preparation, but they're not as basketball centered as you'd like. And it's awesome to know that we're getting back to that. So obviously we're in year 3 here now. And so we've got a pretty good sense of what the roster looks like and kind of what we're going to be good at. And, there's a lot of excitement because we've got a lot of talent. And now, like any team, how we handle adversity that comes our way, how we stay connected through the duration, what we learn as we go, will sort of determine where we're at. But in terms of who's in that locker room, it's with both excitement and pride that I get to share them with you all. Our schedule has been released, obviously, with five of the first 7 on the road was by design. If we can get this young team learning lessons early, that will really help us. So we've kind of created some adversity against some Power 5 conferences outside of the ACC. So our strength of schedule should be very high. And with this influx of grad transfers and young talent and returners, we're kind of a mix of a lot of different things. So I'd rather kind of answer questions that you guys want me to answer, because I could talk for days about my day-to-day, but that's probably not that interesting to you people.
How about Michael? How about if you kick off?
Hi, Coach. So this will be the first year for you with the program without Janelle Bailey on the team. How challenging has it been to replace someone like that who's really been a rock for the program?
Yeah, I mean, Janelle offers a lot, right? She's got a very high basketball IQ and had really a ton of experience. I mean, she played since she got here. So by the time I got here, she had a lot of minutes in college already logged. So there wasn't a lot that phased her, right? She's been in every gym. She's been in lots of different environments in the conference. And so you lose a really high basketball IQ player, and you also lose that level of experience in the interior offensively and defensively. Her physicality defensively really was an anchor for us. And yet, as I say, myself, most of all, we're all replaceable, and it's somebody else's turn to play that position in the way that they're going to play it, and in our team to play the way this particular team is going to play. So what we'll miss is obviously her toughness. We'll miss her experience level, the most, and we'll look to build that throughout the year.
Thank you.
PJ, go ahead.
Hey, Coach. Hope all's going well. Just getting a look at some of the first years. There was a lot of talk about how highly touted the class was. Specifically from Destiny Adams, I wonder if you'd seen anything from her over the course of summer workouts that you thought of as a special or something you really need to take note of. Yeah,
I mean, Destiny is Dennis Rodman. There's a relentlessness to the glass. There is a fear of no one. There is a motor that is innate in a Dennis Rodman and a Destiny Adams. And so whereas Dennis Rodman, you didn't lean on him to score 25 a game, you could count on his motor and his competitiveness every single day. And that's what Destiny has proven. I mean, she comes to practice with a chip on her shoulder. She's probably one of the sweetest kids you'll ever meet off the court, and it's completely opposite on the court. She's physical, a lot like Janelle in her physicality, but more mobile. But yet she's got really no experience. So harnessing that in footwork and harnessing that in pace to slow down enough is part of our learning curve. But yeah, I would say when you think of Dennis Rodman, his strengths, obviously his weaknesses, she's very different than that, but his strengths as a competitor, that's Destiny Adams. And that's what we knew we were getting. And she proved that to be true.
Yeah, and you talk about, fear of no one. Obviously, she made headlines, a few months ago for standing up for what she believed in terms of Black Lives Matter, when people told her she couldn't. In terms of just as a character standpoint, you seeing that and then her coming to join the team over the summer, what have you noticed in terms of her character and, standing up for what she believes in terms of her commitment? Has that been something that stood out to you?
Yeah, I mean, so Destiny called. An interesting story about that. Her dad was the principal at the school. And so there were some complications with that process. And then, it's a mixed marriage. Her mother is white and her father is Black. And so, she comes at that really honestly that, and she's not, she's not overly outspoken about really anything. She's a super sweet kid, pretty reserved. But obviously that the Black Lives Matter movement was really important to her. And so she called us and sort of had some concerns about or some curiosities about how she might be able to use her platform and ask the right questions and motivate the right people. And I really appreciated that, because I think it was something she saw that we were doing in our team as well. But I think Des comes at, again, what you see is what you get with her. She comes at things really honestly. She's competitive. She cares about things that when you'll know it. And so she cares about rebounding. She cares about Black Lives Matter, and you'll see both of those things be important to her throughout her life.
Thanks, Coach.
Mike, go ahead.
Good morning, Coach. Nice to see you
Morning.
again.
You too.
So by my count, Destiny's Dennis Rodman, Kennedy's Scottie Pippen. You got a nice championship team going there. I wanted to ask you, we talked about the youth of your team, and I know you've had, like Carly come in and Jalen as an upperclassman. Who are you looking to kind of take upon that leadership role, or is it kind of a mixed bag coming into the season?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a mixed bag. Jalen's a gifted leader. I mean, I think she's what I think is important in leadership is the consistency and the desire to bring others with you. Those are two things that Jalen is absolutely one of the very best I've ever been around in 15 years being a head coach at doing. She's incredibly consistent, and she brings others with her. Now you have someone like Carly, who's been the engine of really great Princeton teams. Her consistency as a competitor, she's a little more soft-spoken than Jalen, but the team has just really rallied around her in terms of what she brings every day. And then Eva as a grad transfer as well. I mean, Eva's been the best player in her team. She's from my state of New Hampshire. She's been on the best player in every team she's been on. And so for her to have that kind of fearlessness, but yet the real gratitude for being in the Power Five. And then Malou and Ariel have been in this program. They've really been staples in terms of our locker room. So they all five really bring something different. And what's most important is none of them care that it's them. They just want this team to be successful. And that's something that not every team ever has. So they've really all emerged. It's not a one stop shop with this group.
All right, Lawrence, go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Coach B. Nice to see you again.
You too.
So actually, that was actually kind of my question as well. So I'll spin it differently. So who has kind of impressed you this offseason? Who's kind of stood out to you as far as their work ethic?
Mm-hmm. Well, first off, I hope I'm in one of those pictures in the back. We spend so much time together. If I'm not, we should work on that. But anyway, I love that question because, I mean, with our new guard coach, Coach Toro coming in, it's been fun for us in practice to look at and say, she didn't have that last year. She didn't have that last year. She didn't have that last year. And so Kennedy Todd Williams is a much improved player. She's much better with the bounce, so she can be better off of ball screens. She can be better at getting to her spot. She's much better at finishing. She's gotten a step through and other things that she just didn't have. So she's in the gym a lot. She cares about getting better. She cares about her career. So I think you'll notice a much improved player in Kennedy Todd Williams. Carly's better than when I coached her at Princeton. Obviously, she's 2 years older, but she's really quick, increased her athleticism in that way. Alyssa Usby is better. I know that's scary, but she's much better. She's much better with her handle. She's much better from three. These guys are workers. Ali Z is Aliyah, who you guys haven't seen much of. I mean, she lifted 5 days a week all year last year. I mean, she spent time in the gym every day on her own, on top of what we were doing with her. So really the returners, Anya, her adversity response, her fitness, her strength is much better. Malou is finally healthy. I mean, the pieces that we have, there's not one kid that isn't noticeably better. And I'm really proud of them for that because we pushed them hard. And it was the first time they had an off season with me. So I give a lot of credit to my coaches and our plan for them, but every single one of those pieces is better. Literally every single one of them.
And then just a follow up on that. So you talked about kind of everybody else in the program and how they got better this off season, but as a coach, what did you work on? How did you get better this offseason?
Yeah, it's a great question. I sort of every year I hold myself to that standard in terms of the things that I read, the things that I listen to, the people that I talk to. I watched a lot of international basketball. That game is really fast. And one of our strengths is that we're deeper, so we can play faster and our post game is faster than, Janelle wasn't super quick down the floor. So now we can be faster. Tiana is probably even faster than Alyssa. If that scares you, then that's a good thing. So we're just faster. And so I watched a lot of the European game because they play with a shorter shot clock and they're more mobile with their bigs and whatnot. So those are two things that I did.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Mitchell, go ahead.
I can find the unmute button. Hey, Coach, how's it going?
It's been a while on Zoom. This is not your first Zoom, my friend.
No, yeah, no, it's been a while. I've been back in the office a little bit, so
Oh,
you know,
yes.
yeah, it's been good. So I wanted to ask you, 2 days ago, the ACC announced this alliance of sorts with the Big Ten and the Pac-12, and a lot of people frame that as a football thing, but it's very much an all sport thing, with a potential schedule arrangement for basketball. So just from a women's basketball perspective, what do you think about that, and what kind of impact do you think it can have on women's basketball in the ACC?
Yeah, I think it's probably twofold. One is the finance of it, right? I think part of that alliance was, I'm thinking ABC, ESPN football contract, right? That's great. The more money that we get via TV into our athletic department, the better for all of us. So I think that's one benefit. And I think the second is, I haven't looked at it all that closely, but I think part of it is basically we're not going to poach your teams and you're not going to poach ours. And we feel good about our conference and you feel good about yours. And whether that's, can you have a tournament over Martin Luther King Day where you have more interconference tournaments? Can you have it over Thanksgiving, or things that TV can wrap their arms around? The challenge is football goes all the way through to the new year, and that's got a huge TV muscle. And so I think it kind of is going to free up, hopefully either free up more windows or bring more money in via the TV contracts. But as a school that has both a storied tradition in football and a storied tradition now in football, but in basketball, I think Carolina is important to that alliance. And I know that Bubba's been a strong advocate of forming Power 5 alliances that allow our student athletes to get the best experience.
Mike, did you have another question?
Yeah, I did, Coach. I was just curious, what's it been like entering a new season without your right hand, Carrie Moore, there, obviously leaving for Michigan?
Yeah, so Carrie was with me obviously at Princeton as well for a long time. And, her main function on our staff was recruiting and us getting the right people here. And I have such, as I told her many times, I have such gratitude forever for the kind of talent she was able to work with to help me get in here. And what this team needs now is a little bit different, right? What we need now is Atoro comes in with head coaching experience in the Power 5. She comes in with assistant coach, recruiting coordinator experience in the Big Ten and Big East. And so, for her to be able to help on the floor with this talented group, she's played in the WNBA. She's got a better, playing career than anyone else on my staff, including Carrie. And so it's good for both sides. I think it's a shift in what we need from that spot. Although recruiting will always be a priority, clearly. But anytime we can have people reach their dreams, and for Carrie to get an opportunity to go back home, I know meant a lot to her, and to have my support fully meant a lot to her, and for her to have the gratitude that I have, the type of player she was able to bring in. But now we get to root for each other in a different way, which is kind of fun.
RL, go ahead.
Hey, good morning. Mike kind of took my question there about Carrie Moore. Obviously, you're coming off 2 outstanding recruiting classes, and obviously Coach Moore was a big part of that. Is there 1 or 2 coaches on the staff who've taken the lead in that regard? And have you seen the momentum continue to build off of those past 2 classes?
We have 9 now underclassmen. Right? It's really hard to keep 15 kids happy and to play them enough. So with our 5 freshmen, current sophomores who have an extra year if they want it, we're going to bring in a very small 22. Could be 0, could be 1, could be 2, no more than 2, right? And then 23 is same idea, So again, I think Toro is coming in as a recruiting coordinator for us because she's done it at the Power 5 level, which gives you just gives you a different level of experience there. But we really circle recruit. So that's not to take anything away from the work that Carrie and I did together, but we really circle recruit. We don't have a kid that's like, that's my kid or that's your kid. We pick a very small group of kids that we want to recruit, and we want you to feel and love all 4 of us. So really the recruiting coordinator's job on this staff is to coordinate and collect and cohese the process, which we've hired, as Liz Roberts, my former player, to help be the organization for that. Carrie didn't have someone in that role, so she had to spend a lot of her time kind of coordinating the circle approach. Now Liz is doing that so that Atoro can be like everybody else, just kind of one of our main recruiters. So yeah, I think about, we brought 9 kids plus the grad transfers plus the mid-year transfers in aerial. You're not going to see another 4-person class, and that will affect our rankings for a class, because you look at, like any math equation, the more kids you bring in that are in the top 10, the higher your ranking is. If you only bring one in, you're going to be below the people that bring in 3 top 30 kids, right? So we're just what's what we need, right? And we just don't need a lot of I love the talent we have. I think it's excellent. So we don't need a lot. So we're not going to go after a lot in the next couple of years.
Thanks. And then I just wanted to ask, obviously, if you were a men's program with such a class, you'd be worried about everybody leaving after 1 year. And it really, you can build momentum in a program that you can in a men's program. How's that dynamic different?
I don't know, right? Because we'll have to have this conversation next year and see what our roster looks like, right? I don't know who stays with the transfer portal. With COVID still a thing. And so there's a homesickness element that happens when you can't ever really leave the state and come back and do all the things that you usually can do. So I don't know. I mean, I think if you look at the Final Four teams, except for Stanford being the only outlier, everybody played 7 total players in those games, right? And so your roster's tight, as you get more and more competitive. And so again, that's just how many bodies do you need to be excellent, right? I love the group we have, and we're not going to just stack talent here. We're gonna find the right fit at the right time collectively. And so our classes will all look different, and it's going to be easy to sort of say, well, they did a better job this year or last year or next year or the year after. And I just kind of, as I've always done, I just stay in my lane and know that my job is to build a team year after year. And the team that I have built for this year, I really love. And I will never stop building the right team for the following year. But just there's a little bit of depends on what you need. You don't do it the same way every time.
Thanks.
Michael, do you have another question?
Yes, thank you, Dana. Coach, I wanted to ask you about Tiana Key. What was it like to be? What was it like to recruit someone who is so close to home, but who also has so many other programs coming after her?
Oh, there's not a person who loves Tiana Key more than Courtney Banghart. It's just not possible. I know everybody on our staff is probably fighting to be the number one in terms of who loves her the most, but I'm going to tell you, I love her the most. There's so many things to love about Tiana, and we knew that. And her sister being at Tennessee, of course, we had concern about her going to a Kentucky or another school in the SEC or whatnot. But she was the first kid I brought on campus when I got this job. She was a target the minute I got here. I love who she is. I love her mother. The kid is awesome. She wants to be a pro. She's very serious about her career. She's got just a really fun spirit. So it fits my personality a lot. But when I tell you I've given you all a treat to watch Tiana Key develop in our program, it's an understatement. You're really gonna like her a lot. She's excellent. A little bit like, I can't help but compare a little bit like a Candace Parker or a Kevin Durant. She's long and can do a lot of things. Yeah, she's going to be fun to coach. But it was hard. I mean, she's got a lot of people that want her. We had to recruit her through COVID. So thankfully I jumped on her early enough that she had built that relationship with us. But thankfully this didn't feel too close to home for her.
Thank you.
Mitchell, do you have another question? Oops, I think we lost Mitchell.
But keeping the talent in state is going to be important. There's so much talent in our state. If we could, like Mac has done, that's what's also helpful about Tiana. She's really well respected in our state by her peers. And that, I think she will help us get other really talented players in our state.
I think Mitchell had a question. We lost him. Does anybody else have anything that you need? RL, was that a raising hand or a wave?
That was the real hand instead of the virtual hand.
Okay.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of excitement about the team coming up, and I know the fans are all excited about it as well. How important is for fans to be patient? Because obviously these are all players who haven't played together, and there might be a few bumps along the road and they might not click right away. How important is patience for the fan base here?
Yeah, I mean, I think time is a valuable asset. And so if people are going to give you your time, you have to make sure that you make it worthwhile. And win or lose, I can assure you that this will be a team, at least since I've been here, the most fun team to watch. And so I think that win or lose, I think as long as people give us a chance and come out, they will like the product. And then in terms of the only patience I care about is the current roster in the locker room. I think for them to understand that they are in some cases 5 years younger than some of the people they're going to be playing against. That's important. That's important for the duration of the season. That's important for the physicality of the game. It's important for oh God, I've never been in this environment. We're going to have that all the time. So as long as I can keep my locker room patient, I think the fan base will really like this group in terms of how they play, in terms of how they celebrate each other, in terms of their speed and versatility, in terms of the system that we have for them. But it's inside that locker room RL, making sure that my group is patient with understanding that I know you want to get to a Final Four. I wouldn't be here if I didn't want to get to a Final Four. But we lost in the first round last year. That's a big jump. Let's get there. Let's just keep getting better.
Mitchell's back. Mitchell, do you have a question?
I do. Sorry about that. My Wi-Fi is a little spotty.
Yeah.
If you can hear me okay. If my math's right, the first 5 of your first 7 games are on the road.
Yeah.
You don't see a lot of ACC teams kind of test themselves, I guess, early that way. You know, that's kind of a luxury of playing in a big conference. You don't always have to. Why was it important for you to schedule that way this year?
Yeah, it was hard because I know this team is going to be well liked, and so I was bummed. I was thinking of it 2 different ways: be home so the team can be known by its fan base, with understanding that the ACC games are really challenging, and I don't want the first time our kids to be in a 6-point game, or to be in a down 2 with a minute to play, or I didn't want that to be in a game that matters into their basically getting into the NCAA tournament or not. So I opted for preparing them for the gauntlet. And the only way you can do that, I mean, obviously even VCU won the A10. So a lot of people don't know about that team. I do. She's on the board with me. They're a very good team. Or Charlotte, you know, we all know how they do every year at Charlotte. I mean, these are just games that I knew. TCU in the Big 12. So you're sending my guys to an environment in the Big 12. And we have 3 Power 5s and 4 games all on the road. There's no better way to let the guys be like, okay, this is college basketball. This is college basketball. Here's where we got to sharpen. Here's where we got to build to. And then that brings us to early December. And then we still have a full month before the ACC season gets into full go. So we can kind of regroup a little bit and figure out where our holes are and where our strengths are. So yeah, it was by design, and it sounded like a good idea at the time. And it still does. You know, this group is a fun group. And when you have a good team, you want to go play good people.
All right. Thanks. Anybody
Yeah, I
else?
appreciate you guys. It's good to see everybody again. Holy moly, it's been a long time.
Yeah, thanks, Coach.
All
Thanks,
right.
Coach.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good day.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks.
Thank you, Dana.
Thank you.